again, it's one of those things. I wish that I could say something really fanciful about, you know, the plot and what I did, but I wrote all of this stuff, and there was a lot of, as I say, I was in a place, and there was a lot in there that I guess was too much, and my original editor in London, she cut a lot, so, and then when we put it all together, it just came out this way. Yes. I don't have anything smart or edgy to say about that. I just, you know, and I think with first-time authors, it is, and I listen to these interviews a lot. I go to readings and I sit there, and they seem to always have their stories nailed. This is how I did it, and this is where it came from. In terms of the actual writing, like I said, I was pretty much, I'd left home, I'd left London, that's where I grew up, and I was here. I had another book that I had written that was rejected, and I came here and I was feeling a little bit lost, wasn't sure about what I was going to do next, and this you know, this came out, and so when I read it, I feel like, you know, I could have put this here and this could have been different, but it's just, you know, it's just what happened.
Yeah.
No, not really. Again, there is, I guess, an industry standard. There's a way that you're supposed to do this, I guess, but I wasn't really, I wasn't concerned with that. I was trying to get something, I was trying to tell a story, and to begin with, I wasn't even trying to do that. I was trying to just be a part of documenting what was going on in my, in the place, the area that I grew up. The thing I just forgot, and I just remembered, the reason why I decided that I wanted to touch on Somalia was because, and this was the point with the whole Shainka thing, the UK has a history of looking at other countries and looking at other issues that are occurring in different parts of the world. And you know, I read every day a story. Well, while I was in London, I read every day a story about Somalia. This is, I think it just won it again. It wins the award every year for the most lawless place in the world. And they've got, I think, the biggest growing industry at the moment, which is piracy. But I wanted not to focus. I felt it would be too easy for me, living and growing up in the East End of London, putting out this book that was about gangs and fighting in East London. I wanted to compare it to somewhere else. I also wanted to say, I also wanted the reader to think about what's actually going on now. There is like, I think the war in Somalia now has been going for like 14 years.
Yes.
And the biggest group of immigrants to London are Somalis, and pretty much most of the newer immigrants, and we're talking about, you know, 350,000. They seek asylum in the UK. They've been displaced. So when they come into London, they're given flats. They're given apartments to live in the inner cities, in areas like mine. So what happens, you get people like me who are born, bred in London. You get people who have been in, white people who have been in London all their lives. Although I was born in London and raised there, my parents are Nigerians. So I've never felt like I fit in, you know, that whole story about duality and blah, blah, blah. I am that. I'm not English because they don't really embrace being black. And I'm not Nigerian because when I went to Nigeria, my restaurant and my cinema, they just laughed at me and said, what are you doing here? So, you know, that whole thing, you know, most of the great writers, they write about that feeling. But what's happening now is, or what was happening, I found, was that lots of the murders were happening because people that had sought asylum in London, when violence erupts, and it always does in the places like this, and whereas if I get into a fight, and I don't do that often, especially not now, I'm older and stuff, but when I was a bit younger, like everybody else, you get into trouble. But whereas, you know, you get a black eye and you go home and you clean up and then you come back out, with the people that are from real violence, it's very different. And this is what the newspapers weren't picking up on. There's a few times when there had been a murder and the person who had committed the murder was a Somali, say, and it's not always Somalis. It's like I feel like there's different people or different groups from Africa all over the inner cities in London, and what they're failing to understand is that these days London is dangerous. It's not like America dangerous, but there are no, you know what I mean. Like, but there are like 170 gangs. There are 170. I had to do that. There are 170 gangs in London alone. There's different gangs in London, and a lot of those gangs I know are made up of different elements of Africa. So you get like big Somali gangs and big Nigerian gangs, and a lot of the war, a lot of the fighting is caused by stuff that's going on, you know, abroad. So they're coming over. They're coming over. What do I sound like? Taking our jobs. They're coming over, and all of this stuff is happening. But when the newspapers are reporting it, they're reporting it as black crime, black on black crime. They're not really thinking about what is happening. And what is upsetting is that, you know, with all the idea, all that we know about the like movement, the shift in landmass, and by that I'm talking about like when Africa met Europe and the New World, when all those things, when all those cultures clashed and they came together, we all understand, because everybody writes about slavery and the effects and different skin color and how people are forced to live together. So during the 60s, when my parents moved from Nigeria to London, there was that great wave of immigration, and everyone understands that and everyone documents that. But the immigration that is happening now, this is where there is war and people get displaced, and then some countries say, well, I'll take 1,000 of those, and other countries say, I take 1,000. That isn't being taken into, like, people aren't really documenting that as they should be. So when there is a murder, this is all I'm trying to say, and I know I'm going on. It's like when there is a murder, sometimes it isn't just a gang, and it isn't just about drugs, it's about young people who are very traumatized and who are carrying a lot of, they're carrying a lot, sometimes they've seen too much, and they're carrying that around, and they're dumped in places like estates with people like me, and I think that was getting on my nerves a little bit. And so that's why, that was why the book is split that way. Absolutely, definitely. I know exactly who he is. This guy, Mr. Bloom, is a character that I started off trying to hate him. He's like a white male figure in the book. The name Bloom, when I lost my business, I was made a bankrupt. And what they do when you're made bankrupt in the UK, they appoint an official receiver to freeze your bank account and basically follow you around so that you're not allowed to make any money. So there was me feeling like, I'd started this magazine for black men. Okay, I'd lost it, and I owed a few printers some money. I printed the magazine sometimes and I didn't pay the printers. Yes. So I understood that you made bankrupt. So but I tried to siphon off some money. I tried to say, well, look, there's an account. I need to eat. Just put some money away so that he can, they can. But this official receiver, he was really thorough, and his name was Bloom. right? And we ended up fighting over, it was something like £30,000, which isn't a lot of money, but at the time I didn't have a business and I didn't have a job, and I didn't know what I was going to be doing, so I was fighting tooth and nail for this money, and we ended up going to court, and he turned up, and he basically, you know, won the money. I wasn't able to have the money, and I remember he looked really smug, he looked really happy that he had done that to me. And I remember saying to the judge, and I know this sounds like a lie, and when you asked the question, or when you sent the email through, I remember thinking, when I say this, it's going to sound like a lie, but it's the truth, right? I remember thinking, if you take that money from me, it means you're trying to kill me. Do you understand? Yes. What am I going to do? I've got no money, you've closed my account. I'm gonna hate you. Do you understand? It's not like a joke. I'm gonna be like that person who hates you. I'm gonna try and do everything in my power to make money, however I can. And do you understand what that means? And I don't want to be bad, but look, I've got no money. I've got no account. If you take that from me, I'm screwed. And they did it anyway. And I remember sitting there feeling like this is what happens. This is what makes people go out and act, what do you guys say, the fool. Yes. And that's when I started feeling like, look, I do understand, and I know it's you know, there are a whole myriad of issues about why it's wrong to sell drugs and blah blah blah, but I kind of felt like, what are you supposed to do? If I want to study law, in order to earn money, I mean, you can set up a shop on a high street and get no one's going to come to hire you, right? And so you're going to lose that shop. So you want to be a barrister, you want to be able to go before a judge and earn money like everyone else. And in order to do that, you have to get articles. And in order to get articles, you have to get a year's work in a decent solicitor's office. And you're not going to get that if you're young and you're just not. And I know that sounds like you're whinging and you know, work harder and all of that stuff, but I tried it and lots of people that I know tried it, and I just started to feel like I needed to get out of it, and I really understand why people get frustrated and why people get angry. I understand why there's a problem, and no one is going to listen to somebody like me. You know, they can go into your account and they can take your money, and they can look at you and they know you're utterly helpless, and you can go home and you can do nothing. And you know, and I think about this now, and I know I'm way off topic, and I don't want to, like, I'm not there now, you understand? Please buy my book. You know, I'm not that angry nutcase. All I'm trying to say is I left London for a reason. I lucked out with writing this book. I feel like I can write, and that's what I want to do. But now, if you think about it, I've been here just over a year, and I haven't killed anybody, I haven't robbed anybody, and I've bumped, not that I want to or anything like that. What I mean is, the sorts of networking that I've always known that worked for other people in the UK, that wasn't working for me. Yes. I feel like I've experienced that here. Within the space of a year, I was in the park, Fort Green Park. I was walking my son. You know, I didn't know what I was going to do. I wasn't sure. You know, I'm still like, you know, yes, I've written this book. It's been published in the UK. But you know, my wife will tell you that I'm broke. And so what are you going to do? I'm walking around the park and I meet a woman who's also walking her child. And we get chatting, and she says that she's a teacher, and I say, oh, I'd love to teach. And she said, well, you know, I'm thinking of not going back. I'll let my professor know that, you know, you're looking. And the following day, the professor rings, and he says, are you looking for work? I said, yes, would you come in for an interview? I turn up for an interview, and it's you know, it's an older black man who's looking at me, and I can see he's like, you know, you're English. You understand what I mean? He's like, he's listening to my accent. My accent is working for me. So I'm a bit lost. I'm a little bit lost because I'm feeling like I'm not English. I'm Nigerian, you know, I'm like you work for the department I want to work for, but he's looking at me and he's respecting me because I'm English, because of my accent, so I'm playing on that. But what I'm trying to say is I got through, I got the job, and it felt like a break. And it's the sort of thing that I think that's all you need. Now I feel like, and I'm not rich, but I feel like valued. I feel like getting on the train and going and teaching 45 American students. They think that I'm smart. And I'm like,
We're very cool.
I know that.
You smart, you are.
No, but what I mean is that that sort of break is all that you want. You need an opportunity like that. And the thought of me being in London and meeting someone in a park and then getting a call from a professor, and then walking into a good university and teaching, it just wouldn't happen. And I think that's unfair, and I think that they need to sort it out, and I think that while they're sorting it out, people should just leave, you know? Because I literally I would have lost, you know, I would have been sitting in London doing what right now, but instead, you know, here I am bluffing my way as a novelist.